welcome back, Localians. Did you miss me? Because I surely missed you all. It's been quite some time, but we are back, and we're back with a special guest, Congressman Cleo Fields. Thank you so much for coming
Oh,
on Keep It Local.
it is my pleasure, Destiny.
Yes,
It's a pleasure to be with you,
yes, thank you,
and
thank
I
you, thank
appreciate
you.
all you do.
No, thank you. I try.
Yeah,
Because at Keep It Local, we keep it everything culture, community, and of course, the 225.
that's right. That's right.
Yes, so we're just now coming off of the May 16th election, and that was a lot. It
Yeah,
was a lot.
but the interesting thing about the this May 16th election was, Democratic turnout was at an all-time high,
Yes.
and that's a very good thing
They
because
struck down the amendments too.
people are angry, and I think people are going to express that frustration not over here in Louisiana, but across the country. I mean, as a result of this recent Supreme Court crazy decision,
Yeah.
to strike down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which is unconscionable, un-American, and it's just, it's unbelievable. But they did it. But it
Yeah.
reminds me of, Plessy v. Ferguson, you know, in Louisiana. A case
Yeah.
came out of the state of Louisiana where the Supreme Court of the land basically said it was legal to be separate. They legalized segregation.
Yeah.
So the Supreme Court, I think the next Congress is going to have to rethink,
Yeah.
or reform the Supreme Court, either add additional members. There's some talk about term limits, but I do think the next Congress will concentrate on that issue.
Yes, and speaking of Congress, with this recent election, people they were able to vote for the amendments, which they struck down. They were able to vote for the U.S. Senate primary. So we have two runoffs, both for the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. But you were supposed to be a part of this race as well. But with the recent Supreme Court ruling, Governor Jeff Landry he suspended the House primaries, and for a lot of voters that created a lot of confusion. They thought that the race was like the election was canceled altogether, or they didn't know how to vote. It was just a lot of confusion. So, do you think within the confusion, it was up to you to just be able to educate the voters?
Well, I think the Secretary of State and the Governor and the Attorney General, quite frankly, jumped the gun. The Supreme Court did rule that the 6th Congressional District was a racial gerrymander. I disagree with them for obvious reasons. But what they did not rule for that the state should suspend its election. I mean, the whole purpose of, there was a case they ruled on years ago. They call it the Purcell case, that provided that whenever you're close to an election, you keep that election going.
Yeah.
We had candidates that had already qualified.
Yeah.
I certainly qualified and was elected as a Democratic nominee. And the Secretary of State had sent out over 100,000 ballots, and over 42,000 people had already voted.
Yeah.
I'm talking about elderly people, who took the time and the effort to actually fill out a ballot and send it back into the Secretary of State. People overseas who serve in our military took the time, their precious time, fill out a ballot, send it back. And then for the Secretary of State to suspend,
Yeah.
and then the governor to issue an executive order,
Yeah.
and for the Attorney General to say, yes, we can do it, to me was, a slap in the face to every person who fought so hard to give people of color the right to vote,
Yeah.
women the right to vote. I got my right to vote through the 15th Amendment. You got your right to vote through the 19th Amendment. That was a time when blacks and women weren't even, looked up as, they weren't viewed as full citizens.
No, they weren't.
Didn't even give them the right to vote. And so when you take that away from people, say, well,
Yes, a
you
lot of
know,
people they're saying it's like we're rolling back the clocks.
oh, absolutely. But we can't go back.
No, we cannot.
We cannot go back. And that's why I tell people you got to be steadfast. We've been down these tough times before.
We have.
You
So
know?
it's nothing to, just press forward and make
That's
sure
right.
that we get what we need.
Right.
Well, for the American people.
I'm glad that so many people voted.
Oh yeah,
I
it
need
was a
people to
great
now
turnout.
register. We need to get people to register to vote in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama like crazy.
And I think with this whole election, I think that did send out a message for everyone to register to vote for the next upcoming election, which will be in June. But, let's run it back a little bit with Governor Landry. He recently had an interview with 60 Minutes, and he openly admitted to discarding over 40,000 votes. So I know you talked about that a little bit, but what are your thoughts on that, just being able to just toss out votes?
Oh, it sent chills down my spine. I mean, the Supreme Court did not rule to stop the election. They didn't rule that. The state decided to do that. But to disregard anybody's vote,
Yeah.
to me is not just a level of unconscionability. It is just dead wrong. I mean, when John Lewis was marching across that bridge in Selma, and had his brains nearly beaten out,
Oh,
he was marching so that people could have the right to vote. Even though I had a constitutional right to vote, there were states like Louisiana, Mississippi,
Yeah.
Alabama, southern states that still, had all kinds of prerequisites
Like the
in
taxes
order,
and all
in
that.
order to even for African Americans to even register to vote. And so to hear any governor, not just this governor, any human being,
Yeah.
to say, it doesn't count. They can do it again. That flies totally in the face of human dignity and humanity.
Yes, and there was one of the congressional candidates, Lindsey Rubio Garcia. She was one of the first to file a lawsuit, and that's when a lot of people they started to file lawsuits. I know she filed on a federal level, and some other people in organizations they filed on a state level. What is your stance as far as filing a lawsuit?
Well, I join in on Garcia's lawsuit because I think it was appropriate. I think the state put the cart before the horse. But now the courts have ruled, and just because the courts have ruled on that matter, and the election obviously went on without the House, it just added to a lot of confusion. I want voters to know, don't be too confused to vote. You show up
Yeah.
and you cast your vote, which is what they did on Saturday, which is a great thing, but they can't stop there.
Yeah.
They got to show up for every election. Every person, we all know people who are not registered to vote.
Yeah.
We need to get them registered to vote. And then on election day, we got to get them out, all over the country. But
Yeah.
particularly in Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama, it's interesting, people cheer for us on Saturday night in a football stadium. They say, yeah, go. And we're one team,
Yeah.
And then on Monday they don't want to cheer for us in the state house or in Congress or on the school board. That has to change.
It will.
You
Well, it's most definitely up to the voters, and we're gonna get more into these congressional maps. So we're gonna take a quick break. So localians, don't go anywhere. Don't exit out of your browser. Just stay tucked. We'll be right back after this break.
Yo, what's up, people? It's Johnny Hustle, Mad Game Entertainment, encouraging you right now to download the Fawsome app right now for all the livest TV shows and entertainment you can find, including now Laugh Now, Laugh Later, brought to you by Mad Game Entertainment. 1 through 8 is already up, but if you want the exclusive to season 9, download the Fawsome app right now. Tune in, tap in. Laugh Now, Laugh Later, season 9 coming soon.
welcome back, Localians. Thank you so much for sticking out with us, with me and Congressman Fields. And so we're going to get a little bit into the congressional maps, a little bit into the history for some of our viewers out there that are not aware. And so, just going to backtrack a little bit because it is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and I think a lot of people are not aware of it, that back in February 2024, Judge Shelley Dick, she ruled that the map needs to be redrawn because it violated the Voter Rights Act by diluting black votes. And so in 2022, the state legislature, they redrew the maps because, you're supposed to redraw them every 10 years. And then Governor John Bel Edwards, he vetoed that map, saying that it did not make up the racial demographic of the state.
Yeah, Governor Edwards vetoed the map that did not create the second majority-minority district. Yes, he did.
And the legislative Black Caucus, that's when they came up with the map that made more geographically sense, and that way you do have your districts that made up the racial demographics, but it would have made it hard for Representative Letlow to retain her seat. And so that's when Congressman Garrett Graves, he no longer had his seat. And so why do you think that there wasn't much pushback on this map that was sponsored by Jeff Landry? Because that wasn't the map. The map that got your seat, that wasn't a map that was supposed to be used.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Destiny. At the end of the day, I was chairman of the committee both times when we created a second majority-minority district. And I wanted to make absolutely certain that we followed every ruling of the Supreme Court. Yeah. And we did. And Judge Dick was right when she said that map not going to fly. Yeah. And so the governor was forced to have a session, and both the governor, the attorney general, the Republican House and Senate passed the map with a second majority district. The author of the bill, and I wanted to make sure that the record was clear. The district went to Shreveport, not primarily based on race. It was based on politics. Yes. Because the author of the bill wanted to protect the district of the only female members from Louisiana, Julia Letlow. And I made him come to the table and tell us, why are you sending this district from Baton Rouge to Shreveport? He said, because I want to protect, I know you got a map that creates the second majority district, but it takes away my only female member of Congress, my congresswoman. And the Supreme Court, up until that point, said it was absolutely legal. That the race was not the predominant reason. It was politics. So, look, this Supreme Court was following the dog whistle of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, and it's very seldom, I don't call the president. Donald Trump basically sent a dog whistle when he took the oath of office. He signed an executive order to do away with diversity, equity, and inclusion. That was a dog whistle to the whole country. It is not popular to be diverse, and no company should have inclusion and equity. And so that's when everybody started changing their moods in the state. Well, I was for it, but now I'm not for it. This is all this Republican MAGA movement when the Supreme Court ruled in the case from Louisiana, Cali. What did President Trump say? Donald Trump say? Donald Trump said, well, we can get 20 more seats out of that. This is all about who controls the House of Representatives come November. And I do think that people are going to continue to push back. And I do think that the Democrats will take control of the House because the people of America are tired of having one branch of government control all the other branches of government. And I think there will be a change, and I think that change is coming soon. And that's why I tell people, don't stop voting, don't stop registering to vote, and participate in this process.
And so there were other maps besides the Black Caucus maps that also made geographically sense. Do you think this map that was used, do you think that made sense? And I'm just looking at it just from, I guess you could say, a stance of common sense of why would they draw a line just straight down the middle?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if you look at the maps they're discussing today, They do all kinds of funny things.
Yeah, because to me it didn't make sense. I was like,
yeah,
why is it? It looked like a Band-Aid across the map.
Yeah, but not only that, look at the district that Graves represented. It was a horseshoe. They got another one now that looks even more like a horseshoe.
Yeah.
People don't need to. I never got into this eyeball test alone because the Supreme Court was very clear. They gave us very clear standards, and we followed every last one of them. And the Supreme Court decided that the map was a racial gerrymander and brought about new rules of the game, saying you can't take race into account at all. First they said race could be the predominant factor. Now they're saying you can't use race at all. You can't draw a map without taking race into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, Louisiana's a third black.
But nobody in America is going to draw a map and not take race into consideration. That's just a bar to just do away with the Voting Rights Act. And this new Congress, they need to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, and they need to put real teeth and leave nothing for guessing, nothing for the Supreme Court to guess about. Congress make the law, not the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, they basically interpret the law, and then their interpretation end up being the law.
I mean, sometimes their interpretation can be wrong. I mean, if we look back.
Well, they were wrong with Plessy v. Ferguson.
Yep.
And people just need to be, look, when they even talked about, okay, we're going to put all of New Orleans and Baton Rouge in the same district, we're going to make it favorable to Baton Rouge. No, don't go talk to somebody else about that. That's packing. I fought against that all of my political life. That's against everything I stand for. Well, we put Fields and Carter in the same district, it'll favor Fields and Fields will win. No, go do somebody else a favor, And then taking all these districts and cracking them into little parts, that's cracking. Look, I'm not for that either. It is absolutely wrong what the state of Louisiana has done. First of all, canceling the election, one. And two, black voters have rights too.
They do.
And I tell people all the time, don't respect us, don't expect us. Period. I mean, we have an old saying, you probably heard it before, hunting ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun. Right now, Congress, is the big discussion. I'm the big target. Tomorrow it may not be Congress. Tomorrow it may be other offices, not for redistricting purposes, but for voting purpose. People just need to keep voting. When they passed that bad Supreme Court ruling with Plessy v. Ferguson, we didn't stop being engaged. We got engaged. And we got engaged even more.
Yeah.
And this past election, this past Saturday, people got engaged. I mean, we surpassed the numbers of previous midterm election. They brought about a whole bunch of voter confusion.
Yeah, and then, look, Congressman Fields, we're going to take a quick break.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick break, and we're going to talk about the future of those congressional maps. All right, stay tuned, localities. We'll be right back after this break.
So Phoenix Air Spa is a place you can go to. We specialize in services that are uniquely you. That's a part of our mission, and that is to make sure that every time you come in, we're going to cater to your mental, your physical, and your emotional health, in the sense that when you leave, you will be completely balanced. And we do that by customizing every service so that it works with your skin that day, because every time you come in, it could be different. So we specialize in acne skin, we specialize in anti-aging, permanent makeup, and of course we do waxing.
He's alive right now. He walks with me. He talks with me. I know he's all right.
Don't let boredom ruin your summer. Add some excitement and adventure to your break. Shiloh's summer camp offers a balance of learning and fun, plus field trips, special guests, and so many more activities. We accept kindergarten through 8th grade students. Register your child for the best summer ever with Shiloh's Summer Camp.
Welcome back, Localians. Thank you so much for sticking out with us to the end with me and Congressman Fields. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about the future of the maps. So right now, it is headed to the State House. So they just ruled, I want to say, a 5-1 map that was authored by Senator Jay Morris. And that 5-1 map that could potentially either rule you out or Congressman Troy Carter.
Yeah, let's talk about that. First of all, there's no option where it rules both of us out. I've made that very clear. If New Orleans and Baton Rouge are together, I'm supporting Senator Carter. I mean, not Senator Carter, Congressman Carter. I know him as a friend in the Senate and in Congress. I mean, look, they're not going to do that. That's their plan, and the map is putting both members in the same district, and that map will probably pass the legislature.
Yeah.
But that's not the end of the day. People need to keep focused, keep registering, and I mean, we are a large percentage of this state, 33%. We have more African Americans in Louisiana than 48 other states. In the whole country. So we have the second highest black population in the nation. They got to be somewhere. I mean, you can't put them all in one district.
Right.
Although that is, their attempt right now. That bill goes before the House on Wednesday.
Yeah.
House Committee on Governmental Affairs. And then after, if they pass it out of the committee, then it go to the floor for the full House vote. And then if there are some changes, it'll go to a conference committee.
Yeah.
And then the conference committee will be voted on by both houses. And then it'll go to the governor for his signature. The governor sign it or veto it, probably sign it. And then the new maps will be in place for the upcoming election.
And that will be this November.
Yep, that would be the first primary. And we'll go back to open primaries,
Yeah.
And people will have an opportunity to go and elect a candidate, perhaps not of their choice, but they have a chance to go and vote.
What are your thoughts on the future of this map? Do you think that there's a possibility that everyone will be represented, not just based off of race, but also political parties? Because I recently looked at on the Secretary of State office, and it had their qualified voters. It was like a little bit over 30% that were Republican, registered Republican, a little bit over 30% that were registered Democrat, and a little bit over 30% that was no party. And then you had your others. And so do you think that there's a possibility that everybody will have equal representation without being lenient?
Absolutely not. If the legislature was fair, we have 6 congressional districts in Louisiana. It'll be 3-3. If you really want to do it on partisan basis, it'll be 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats. And if anything, you have more Democrats than Republicans because we out-register them even after their onslaught of their big effort to register people, move people from Democrat to Republican. Listen, people will vote, and people are resilient in Louisiana. People have had hard times before, and they're going to go to the polls and they're going to vote their convictions. Now, will they have a full opportunity to elect candidates of their choice? Perhaps not. Probably not. Will they have full voter protection from the federal law based on a Supreme Court ruling? No. But will that change in the future? I would say yes. I mean, look, I'd say to people all the time, if Clarence Thomas, believes what he talks about with the black robe on sitting behind that desk, then he should come to Louisiana and run for Congress. He should come to Louisiana and run for governor, or Mississippi, not just Louisiana, or Alabama. Look, there's not a single African American that has ever been elected to the U.S. House of Representatives from a majority white district. Not one. Not just in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Not one. And so the proof is in the pudding. Well, have any? Yeah, a lot have run.
Yeah.
I ran. Many people have run and lost. But have you had majorities? Majority white people being elected in majority black districts? The answer is yes. Look at Tennessee. That's a majority black district, but the voters' choice was a white person.
Oh, well, now they're splitting it up.
Yeah.
They split Shelby County into 3, I want to say.
Yeah, they and it makes no sense. And this mid-decade redistricting, that's going to come back and bite this nation because it's a bad thing. It's just a bad thing.
You never win when you're playing dirty. You never win when you play dirty.
Well, a famous man once said that you may not get all that you pay for, but you will certainly pay for everything you get. And another great man said, freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressed, sir. It must be demanded by the oppressed. And our freedom is our vote. So, so in closing, let me just say to you, I just want people to be encouraged to go vote, to be encouraged to not stop voting, not stop getting people registered to vote, because our voice do matter.
Yeah.
And now people have awakened, and not only in Louisiana but all over the nation. And I think things will pass, and we so should.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Congressman Fields, for stopping by Keep It Local and just sharing your thoughts on this map and, just digging into the history of it and also the future of the map. So thank you so much for
it's my
stopping
pleasure.
by.
Happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. And localians out there, make sure that you are registered to vote, because there is a runoff election coming up in June. And make sure you pay attention to everything that's going to be on the ballot. You can also go on the Secretary of State website to check your ballot, also the sample ballot. And make sure you always stay tuned to Keep It Local. All right, make sure you subscribe to Broadcast Baby TV and stay connected to what matters most right here in the 225. All right, see you all soon.